Support for 100 Watts in a Wire is provided by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. ICOM has the base station of your dreams with the IC7300 and IC9700 SDR transceivers and the portable SDR transceiver, the IC705. These amateur radios are top of the line and the choice of DXers and contesters across the globe. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for details on all ICOM radios. Support for 100 Watts in a Wire is provided by Bioenno Power. If you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best performance lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com or contact dealers nationwide.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Why do I got to do a tune-up in the middle of the heat? Good morning to you and welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire. I'm Christian. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. We're here with Sidecar Steve going old-fashioned style, portable, out from the old wooden shed. I did bring a microphone and a laptop getting powered by batteries. I've got a fan blowing. About 88 or 89 degrees as we open up the show. And so far, so good. Actually, the way I'm seated is facing west, Steve. So I'm facing your direction. So we got the sun that's kind of going to pass the trees here before too long of the woods. And then I'll be in it here in a little bit later. But so far, so good. Little fan action. It's going a long way. How you doing today? And happy tune-up.
Good. Happy tune-up weekend. Thanks. It's going good. Got the portable setup in the shop and in the main part of the shop, and got the homebrew OCF strung up between the towers, and made a few contacts yesterday. So far, so good.
Yeah, good deal. And going really old school and sending this stream out to Facebook too, because I noticed that old Zucky, that's code word, Zucky, he didn't really care that much about the streaming quality on there. And I was like, that's not, so I stopped streaming there. But for this occasion, we're sending it out to YouTube, our YouTube friends, and our friends from the Facebook group. If you're able to check in and say hello in the chat. If you're new, put new. We'd love to meet you. And Sidecar and I are just going to have a nice casual conversation, bring in some friends today, talk about some news, talk about the tune-up, what we decided to do. Steve, I have this thing every time this happens. It happens for field day. It happens for the tune-up or the fallout. I get conflicted about what antennas. It's like you have too many options. You have too many foods to eat or whatever. And I think I tried 3 different antennas at a different height. And I settled on one that you say is like the Carolina Windham. The 3 wires drops down to the 49-to-1 balun. And it seems to perform best at 25 or 34 feet. Nice. The others have been tuned for 25. And when I took them up that 8 extra feet, they're still fine and within tuning range, but they're playing a little differently, up a little higher. They want a little more wire, I think is what they want.
Probably.
So I just brought them down, and I'll go with, like you say, don't mess with success. This one's really close up, 8 more feet, and we'll say that's fine. And I got to make some contacts. You said you worked Hawaii yesterday?
Worked Hawaii and Panama, and then last night had a nice QSO with Mark down in the Tucson area in Arizona, and he was doing pretty much the same thing, just testing out a Wolf River coil and vertical, and just kind of set up on the back patio of his place and operating portable, and told him what I was doing, and we just had a nice conversation for about 15-20 minutes. It was great.
a note from Donnie here saying hello, keeping it really casual because this is about as rustic as you can get. We got the American flag. We got the Interstate 95. I'm an East Coast kid. I'm from Baltimore. And this sign actually, well, I don't want to talk about how I got the sign. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. Actually,
it just kind of showed up in your shed.
It just, two of them.
Just appeared.
Two of them, mysteriously.
And I got the Route 66 right up behind me.
Route 66, that's right. And that one runs where I am now today. That runs through Missouri and all the way out West Coast. And one of my favorite operating events is the Route 66. But I worked for a radio station in Philadelphia, WMMR, and there was some wacky promotion that happened. And listeners could send stuff in. And so a couple of listeners sent in these signs. One of them have stuff written on the back, but radio stations won't keep all that stuff that people send in. I'm like, I think I'll take the signs, and they've made it all the way across the country here.
Nice.
So that's where it's from. I didn't take a wrench and ratchet it off this, but that interstate right up and down the East Coast, if you're familiar with the East Coast, it's right there. And people comment on your sign. So we do have a little street thing going here, even though we're pretty rustic out in the
So does that mean we got some street crud? No.
Did you say street crud?
Yeah, let me see. Street crud. We don't have cred. We don't have any
no
cred. We have crud.
We definitely have cred. No doubt about it. All right. We're checking into some messages here. Okay. Karen has checked in. She says she worked Russia and Slovenia.
Nice.
This week. So that's cool. Getting a little DX in. Let's see. What does Steven say? Wonder what happened to the 95 sign last night looking for Cotman Avenue. Yeah. Yeah.
It's right there.
AE5DW checking in. He's working the tune-up this weekend. He's got a stop sign on his garage. Hurricane Katrina ripped it off of the pole. Winky, winky, quotey, quotey. Sure. But hello to Russ. Hello to Ian is in. Ian is a bonus station this weekend, November Victor 4 Charlie. You'll hear him. Here's Dan. He's tuning up as well, only running AL 811H. He does high power. He does high power in his mobile. So we've kicked off. Thursday night I was busy in the city, didn't get out to operate. So I set up yesterday in the morning, hot, just went through all the clothes, couple of changes, but like I said, I put up a couple different antennas just to try them out to see. And then I ended up settling on the one I, made it for anyways. It's funny how that works. But if you're testing antennas, I would like to see what you guys are using for the tune-up. I wish I could share the picture that Steve has because he set up. He went up. He was on the tower.
Towers.
And you were on the towers and stripping it in there. Now you froze up, Steve. Now you're back. Okay, good. So you've got an off-center fed. Talk about that a little bit. So
it's a 80 through 10 meter off-center fed that I just threw up. I cranked it out one day and went with a 64-36% variant. So the long leg is 64% of the length of a half wave dipole, and the short leg is 34 or 36. And but the problem is the two towers are only separated by 100 feet. So I ended up dangling down about 20 feet on each end of the wires. I just kind of scientifically did an arm spread and did it 4 times, so around 25 feet or so, and then threw a pressic knot on it, and then pulled it up and kind of went from there. So it's basically a U-shaped OCF, and figured how well it's going to go. The ends are up at about 40 feet, and the center's probably about 30 feet, somewhere around there because of the weight of the coax and the 4-to-1, and seems to be working. I was thinking last night to pull it down and make it a straight 40 to 10 meter OCF, and then had that nice conversation with Mark, and it held up on 20. 40 was just not good last night over here. So we'll try 40 tonight. We'll keep it up and see how well it works.
I don't know if this is true for other people, but I put an antenna up and then I go to work with it and the band conditions may be a little shaky. I start to thinking I did something wrong. But I don't read the numbers. I think you're one of the kind of guys that'll read about what's happening with the propagation and the solar index and all those sorts of things. I get on, I look at it, and I'm like, this antenna sucks. And there's no change if I change it out. Mm-hmm. But Ben wrote and asked me about the specs on this antenna here. And I think the trick is in the balun, really. I spent a lot of time a couple weeks ago kind of measuring out things. Mm-hmm. I did they call banana clips, or alligator clips, extended wire to see how it would go. I coiled the wire up and that was like, no, spread it out down there. And it had a different effect on the antenna. But basically I took 3 pieces of wire. One is 40 feet. The other was 26 feet. So we got 66 going across the top. And then I dropped it down 35 feet to this, what I believe is a 49-to-1 balun. And it's under 2.0 to 1 across 20 and 40. I didn't even really check the other bands, but mm-hmm. I find when I'm portable, this is kind of what it's convenient too. I could set up 2 monoband dipoles and maybe put a switcher in, but I don't know. This time around, I thought I'll just keep it simple and just switch over in the radio, do like this sort of Wyndham configuration, mm-hmm. and just go from there. But I made some contacts. I worked a guy in New Mexico, real light. He was on a summit. I believe he said he was in New Mexico. His call sign lookup is in Colorado, Minnesota. Worked in Minnesota.
Nice.
New Jersey. Pastor Joe was the first contact in New Jersey. It was a little light, but it worked fine. A couple others I can't remember quite now. They were kind of out here in the middle. Oh, Kansas was one. So no crazy DX quite yet, but we'll see. We'll try today and maybe stream after the show. Some contacts. I noticed when I have this microphone, which is for your listening pleasure, I can't do anything about the voice. I could come, I turn it off and it's like, hey, okay, wasn't that a great show? Turn the mic on, it sounds a little better. Mm-hmm. But when I have this plugged in, I was going to have my radio on like I normally do. It sends some kind of weird into the radio, so I wasn't digging feedback. That. Yeah.
So what are you using out in the shed for? So what's the setup in the shed?
Well, the setup, we got I got a little box here, and if I get a little wacky, it'll knock it out. But in this box is a 7300, and it's my portable rig, and I got it mounted here in the box. I don't have a tuner in line. You and I were talking a couple weeks ago about just trying to make a pretty good antenna. All now I'm thinking is, this radio will do 3.0 to 1, and it'll tune it if I need to. In my mind, I don't want to have an antenna that's that high in SWR. So I'm trying to tune them for the height that I'm working with them. But if I need it, I'll touch it up in the built-in tuner, the 7300. And just that wire antenna, 34 feet on the MFJ telescoping mast. I did a video yesterday and posted it on the YouTube channel, so you can kind of see what it looks like on the outside. And so far, so good. I mean, if the band conditions get a little bit better, I'll know more. But now I'll start to test where I'm getting. I'm curious about how far I can go. Mm-hmm. If I can work out to you, which I don't know, man, that's quite a haul. But
we're going to try it. We'll give it a try. So, well, cool. Was what I ended up doing. I just kind of went really simplistic, and it was like, oh man, I don't want to deal with a power supply. So I grabbed the FT1000 that usually sits behind me. Mm-hmm. And the reason I grabbed that, it has a built-in power supply. So all I needed to do was just give it AC. And I just took out I had enough coax to go around the shop and then come through the bay door. And then I just set the folding table right there, and the camp chair, and a beer, and a notepad, and off we went. And a foot switch and a headset, and that was it. And just went to town. And so that the 1000 has the built-in tuner like the 7300, and it's a big radio. It's a bit on the heavy side, but for what I was doing, it worked out perfect. I wanted to set up outside, but yesterday it was overcast and rained a little bit. Today, I might be able to set up outside because it's nothing but blue sky this morning.
Yeah, it's pretty here. It's going to be hot. Got a little crackle on your audio. I think it was you. Maybe it was me. I'll stop talking. Dead air. Everybody enjoys that. It's on your signal. It's on your signal. Yeah,
that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's activated when you speak. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is what happens when we kind of go outside the norm.
Let me see. Let me call in the IT department here. Good morning there, Paul.
He's muted. Mr. IT.
Hang on.
Muted.
I muted myself. Yeah.
He's got his tools. He's ready for you, Steve.
Yeah. I am a tool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just snuck in here.
Unplugging the USB interface and plugging it back in. I don't know. There's definitely a crackle that's tied to your voice.
Interesting. Well, let me bring audio down. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Watch this. We'll prove a proof of concept. No more crackle.
Right. So it's Steve.
Just get rid of Steve.
And the problem is solved.
Good deal. New guy. The new guy is in.
All right then.
So have you thought a little bit more about, I know you can work any band, any mode, any time with the tune-up or the fallout from the comfort of your shack. I know you're slow to the portable route because you've got big radios, but is it because you're more of an inside person or an outside person or a combination of a large radio to haul? Yeah. What's going to entice you to get out there and be portable?
It is definitely a part of me normally being an inside person, and I only have like the bigger base radios that are all kind of knitted into the setup. I'm not averse to setting it up, but I'd have to find some place that's comfortable to go with that would, the wife meets the wife acceptance factor where she can just sit back and read or do something. Because just driving down the highway, pulling over, stopping, throwing up an antenna, working for 20 minutes, and then going down the highway again doesn't necessarily fit in with what is an acceptable family road trip. So
yeah, I have to. I had visions with my girls being younger. I could go and take them to the park, but setting up an antenna in a park takes some degree of focus. And I'm like, I can't not look at these children in the park. I can't lose, so that theory didn't really work out for me either. So I think the tune-up is a better, because I can set aside the time to do it. Yeah. And I'm pretty comfortable. I have shelter. It's hot AF, as the kids would say, out here. And in another hour or so, it'll be the heat of the day. But those ideals of just kind of kicking it. I'll take the girls to the park. We'll go cross country. It's a lot more involved. It's not that I don't want to. If I was alone, let me put it that way. If I was alone, it'd be easier. If I go to the park, I want to chase the girls around. I don't want to lose them.
You spend a couple extra minutes. Yeah, you spend a couple extra minutes focusing on something, and you turn around and they run off.
Where are the kids? Yeah, I love my children, so I have to be real careful with that. Hey, we're going to be kicking off the two-story segment in just a little bit, so we'll take a quick break here, and we will come back with you and Karen Eve Murray coming up next.
The Kilo station again? Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel. You're 5'9". Right.
Brothers and sisters, let's talk about the 100-watt ID. Very easy to get. None of this costs you a thing. But it is fun to have your own, and here's how you get it. Visit 100wattsandawire.com. Click the Gathering tab. Here you give us your name, your call sign, and your email address. Very simply put, an app will sequentially issue your ID, and a very busy human will send you that ID through the email. Then you can use it during our nets and operating events, share it with your friends, do whatever you like, but that is how you get it. Visit 100wattsandawire.com and click the gathering page. Now let's get back to the show.
CQ, CQ, CQ. This is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Okie dokie. Let's bring on our friends in here and do a little segment we like to call Two Stories, where I get together with my friends from Amateur Radio Newsline. We talk about a story that would make it in the top layer. What do you call that when you're stacking a show, Karen? Is it your top segment? Is it your what is that? The chunk of good top lead stories.
We're the top.
I think maybe.
We are front loading it. This is the top segment. We got it.
Front loading it. Got it. That's the
Are
one
you
we
ready?
want to talk about. Yeah,
Yep.
well, and the second story is one that maybe didn't move you enough, or perhaps there was so much going on that you couldn't fit it in, or maybe it was a little deeper in the stack. And usually Paul brings that one in because he feels sorry for those stories. Uh-oh, did we lose Karen?
Uh-oh.
I think hopefully we have her audio. You still have your audio, Karen? You're moving a little bit.
Oh, are you hearing me? Okay. And
Yes,
I'm not
I am
even
hearing
portable. I'm not the.
That's all that
I'm not the
matters.
one in the shed. Okay. Okay.
Well, let's
This
kick
is
it off. What did you find
very
this
seat
week?
of the pants.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It's all good.
You are in the woods.
Yes, I am.
You're in the woods, Christian. Joel, after I sorry. This is about portable. Our story is something called the Bigfoot Radio Net. This is not about shoe size. This is about the Sasquatch, the lovely creature behind me. Unlicensed. He's third party operator.
Oh,
No.
uh-oh.
Welcome to technology.
Uh-oh.
Now she's moving, but we can't hear her.
Yeah. How bizarre. All right, let me drop her down, bring her back up. We may have to move into your story. Let's see. Stand by there. This is great radio, too, by the way, for our audio podcast listeners. They enjoy this, too. Karen, is your audio back? Let's see. You're not muted.
Good.
I hear
Good.
something.
Just turn the
Can you hear me?
camera off.
Yes.
Okay.
Nope. You're
Okay, that will help me see the camera.
Yeah, we'll get that
How am I
extra
doing here?
bandwidth there.
that's a little better. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let's doing radio. All right. What you
No.
Yeah. Do you know this story, Paul? I thought I would be the one. I was absolutely thinking that I would be turning this show over to somebody. Somebody else is going to get this show. Let's talk about your story, because I figured my Wi-Fi would just dump me straight out. But it's funny. It's laid back. Who cares? Nobody cares.
All right, we're just going to go into mine.
Sure. Unless you
All
know
right.
this other story, which was pretty wacky with the Sasquatch in the woods thing, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. I'm literally in the woods.
Yeah, I'd have to scroll down to find that one. So let's
That's okay.
let's do
Yeah.
mine first, and then we'll see if we can bring the squirrel back in. Okay, so one of the things that's always a concern for new hams to the hobby is the cost of entry. I mean, you can get your license, sure, and over here, getting your license right now at least is only a $15 fee for taking the test. And then after that, there's the cost of getting some sort of radio so you can get on. But for a brand new beginner, especially a young person, I mean, looking at the cost of, I mean, even more of an entry level at this point radio like a 7300 is still right around $1,000, which is, I remember when I was a kid, when I started, my first radio was Heathkit DX100 that I got cheap from another ham, and they loaned me a receiver. And then ultimately my parents helped me buy my 520S, which was a lot of money for our family. So, now you can start out with the technician license, at least, because back then with the novice, you had a lot more limits. But with the technician, you can get an inexpensive handheld and you can get on. But in other countries, it's not that easy. There is a group in Australia called the Pride Radio Group, and they have started a program where they put together a kit, a basic kit of things that if you can, show them that you have the desire, but you also have the financial need for their assistance, you get one of these kits. It's got the photo behind me. It's got a toolkit. It's got a nano VNA. There is a hotspot. There is a DMR HT included, and some other little projects. And just to give you an example of the cost, hang on, I had that up here, and
good.
I've got a currency converter here because I've got Australian dollars up on the screen. So by the time you take your license test, and then you have to pay an extra fee for it's a call sign recommendation. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And then there's another one for the ACMA license, which it's all overall, the total cost to get a license in Australia is 195 Australian dollars. It's about $150 here in the US. So by the time you've gotten through and gotten your license, you're already out $150. And if you're a kid, that's a big deal. So this is awesome. What these guys are doing is they're saying, you put in all the work, you've got your license. If you really need the help, we've got a kit, a box full of stuff that's enough to get you on the air and get you active. And I really like that attitude. And that's something that our club has discussed in the past. If we can get some donations and a little funding in. And I know that a lot of people talk trash about the inexpensive Chinese handhelds like the Baofengs and the Wushans. But for somebody who's just starting out to get their feet wet, it's hard to beat a $25 or $30 radio. So we've discussed the possibility of maybe if we get somebody who comes in and takes the license exam with us and passes their tech, it's entirely possible that we could have some radios pre-programmed for the repeaters in the area. And as soon as they, show us that they've got their license back, they can have a radio. So, I mean, it's great that this group is doing that, and they're really trying to help, somebody put the effort in the license. It's one thing to get a license. It's one thing to keep people using it. So if you help them out with equipment to start with, they're, and then you just keep with them and keep them encouraged. That's how we keep growing in the hobby, and that's how we keep people involved, because just getting people their licenses and then they just sit there and go, I got my license, and then you never get on the air, that doesn't help.
Yeah, it's really hard to take the people who get that first technician license here in our country and getting them to the next step. I think that's a big challenge from getting all the technicians to become active. And I think there's a spike in the prepper side world of people who just get it and it's a tool for them, just like you'd have a wrench or anything else in your bag. It's an interesting conversation. I'll have to maybe bring in everybody at some point to talk about, you mentioned an entry-level radio being $1,000, and what that's done to the used market, and how that's affected used gear, because some of that gear still hasn't gone down in value, but a lot of it has an effect on getting the gears. But when you see an entry-level radio at that price tag, that's a little off-putting. And I'll just say my other thought is, expense can be relative. You know what I mean? Some people have hobbies where they fly planes, for Pete's sakes. That's a whole different level.
Yeah.
But so it's all relative to where you are. But I think at your core, what this story is trying to help people get in a little bit easier and a little, I don't want to say lower end, but, give them something to, I don't know, have some hope about, where it doesn't look too expensive for you.
Yeah. And just, I mean, not everybody can build a radio. So, and not everybody wants to build a radio, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So if, and you, like you mentioned, the used market, I mean, the last couple of times I've walked the flea market in Xenia, I'm looking at some equipment that I remember when it came out, and some of these people are still asking like new prices for a 40-year-old radio. That's
Right.
not really a collectible. So, the used market has gotten weird. So now I've heard stories, a lot of clubs where somebody, an old timer's got, 2 extra HF radios that they're really not using, and they've given them to a new young ham to help them get started, which is also a very cool thing. So. And we've all frozen. I don't see Christian. And apparently I'm the only one moving. All righty then. Welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire with me. Christian is going to reboot. I would try to bring Steve back in, but I'm not the one controlling the stream, so that's got to be Christian. So,
Boom.
Oh, there he is.
It's that. Sorry, guys. I knew this would come with a risk factor. I heard everything you said after, or right before you said, "Good morning," and then everything else was gone. I lost it.
It was all awesome.
Oh, you were talking about the market. Yeah. I'm just going to bring everybody up. Let's see.
Let's really push it.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's go. I don't know what's happening. How you doing, Karen? The connectivity is just I knew it would be wacky on my end. It's a risk. I think Karen is stuck. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. We got Sidecard.
Yeah,
we got
I'm here.
Paul, and we'll bring up Karen. Karen's actually moving. Anyway.
Good deal.
So, hey, let's talk about that if we can if anybody can still hear and is still around. I don't know. I think people are here. But, Paul, you were talking about the used market and people trying to sell old used gear for top value, and that was kind of where I lost it. And you want to pick it up from there, or somebody else can jump in on that point? I missed the tail end.
It was basically... I mean, in years past, it was always you hear about the awesome deals you get in the flea market at Dayton. And I really think once eBay started, those killer deals kind of went away. And unfortunately, there are, I mean, hey, it's a free market. You want to ask, $2,000 for a 520S. If you get it, good. But for somebody going out looking for an older radio to start out with for less money, it's really hard to find those anymore. And
that's tough. And
it is. I mean, I get it for the collectible market, but when I see, like an old Alinco going for basically new prices, it's like, why?
That's and we're kind of going HF centric right now with $1,000 radio to get into the HF side, and we have the on the VHF UHF side for the technician classes, we got the the inexpensive radios, the Baofangs, the Wushans, the TYTs, and everything else, and getting that interest and keeping going. But you are 100% right about the people wanting top dollar for old gear, and it's just they're just shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
The other problem is, and our demographics in the hobby has changed a lot. Is that like as you pointed out earlier, we're not building radios, let alone repairing them, and in some cases, folks that do have the capabilities of repairing radios, you don't have the tools or for doing surface mount component repairs, let alone all the other software driven FPGAs and other devices that are in our newer radios. And so
Exactly.
it's things have shifted, and just by the people that are here in the hobby and the technology that we've kind of got in that we have, and having a $25 handheld radio to get started is great, and it also makes it a throwaway item.
Exactly. And while I understand that they are not as nice as one of the more accepted commercial radios, I mean, for a beginner to get started to play with the local repeaters, unless it's a really bad one that's causing actual interference, which so far in my experience, the ones around, nobody has really caused any problems. It's a way for a new person or a young youth to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and plus, I picked up a UV5 a number of years ago when Amazon had them for $25, because it's like, if I'm going out on a thing where I'm afraid to lose a $500 HT,
Mm-hmm.
if something happens to the $25 Baofeng, it's okay.
It's no big deal.
Right.
Karen, what do you think? Let's give it a shot. Can you hear me, Karen? No.
Karen had an awesome story.
You can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, let's try
Yes.
it. I mean, I've already lost connection. We might as well just give it our best go. We're in the woods.
Oh, right. Well, we're in the woods, and we're not. Brent Boyd's in KF5 Hunter.
No, this is.
He wants to find big.
It's sad.
Watch. No.
Why couldn't it happen in the sidecar? Like the one that says
This
so
is
many words.
Story. Best story ever. The best.
I know.
Story
We're going to
ever.
have to do a special on this
No, huh?
story. I'm sorry. Something's just really weird
Defer
between
to
us
next week.
today.
We did our
Yeah,
best.
let's bring it back, because I want to hear about the story and we could talk about it. I'm sorry, Karen. She froze up. One time she froze up and had a frown on. I was like, that's a sign. That's just a sign. Let's try Don. Don is here. We'll just keep it casual here today. Hey, Don. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, he's there. His lips
Yeah.
are moving and the words are coming out.
Hey, the state of Maryland's looking for that I-95 sign back, you know.
I know. I should have not have brought him up. Anything that's disappeared from the state of Maryland, I
Yeah.
should not have brought him
Is
into
it
it.
the old wooden shed or a museum out there?
Yeah, well, it could be a little bit of both, man. I've got some old things like bottles of. I'm like, what is this from? What did they do with these? There's down in this area some really old glass bottles, things that just look really cool that I have around.
Or possibly toxic.
Oh
was
yeah, I
gonna
don't know
say,
if it's
keep it
shoe
capped
polish
and-
or what it was, and then some torture devices on the bottom shelf here. Like tools have really come a long way since the early 1900s. Just really strange thing. I have a horseshoe here. No luck left in it. Clearly. But Paul, you're welcome to hang out. I don't know if people are on a time constraint. This is so laid back. I'm streaming the two different places, and poor Karen got snuffed out. One thing I know for sure, Don, the sun will beat you down. She is the boss.
Mhm.
I do have the shelter. I remember your list of top thing: water and shelter. Heat is plentiful. And probably the third on my list, because I don't need to be out in the sun with the shelter, is the bug spray. So my top three as we go through, not being too far from home here, but it's a little inconvenient to have to run back around. water for sure. And 64 ounces of water yesterday I burned through. Visited a tree off close by. It's like, again, dude, again.
So
but
the
yeah, those
question
are
is,
my.
did you
those are
lift
my
your
top.
leg like the dogs?
Some things are best left
Unsaid?
between me and that sycamore tree.
There you go. The poor sycamore tree.
What's going on in Baltimore? I know it seems to be hot everywhere, and you guys had some pretty heavy storms going through. What's new?
Yeah, we did. It's about 72. It's soupy though, so
Yeah.
you know how that goes out here. Now, are you moving air in that shed, or is it just you and your hot breath?
I am only because I've got
Oh, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I've got this little fan going. It's connected to a battery, hot breath, and but it's moving a little bit. And I'll probably open the door, but I've got a wasp in here with me. He's just trying to get out. I'll help him out a little bit later, but yeah, that's the thing about it. It's probably a 12 by 15 wooden structure. It's really old. It doesn't leak anything, but the air movement is not great. And it's got big windows, but right now it's just, and in about an hour and a half, 90 minutes, it'll be stifling. I'll have to get out. But if it was an emergency situation, I think I could pass. I'd probably be good on food. I think I could probably, run on less food in this situation for probably a couple of days. And then I'd get irritable and have some problems. But the water, I couldn't do without it. I'm losing it so much. I went yesterday setting up a couple of antennas for the tune-up, and I've gone through like 2 shirts for sure, completely drenched, because you don't know. You kind of lose track of the time and how long you've been out there fiddling around with something. I think that's a problem. That's probably something we could talk about is with the team is you lose track of the time out here in the sun and what you're losing and what goes back in, and Steve doing the firefighter stuff. Maybe you guys want to talk about that some. Got any thoughts on that, Don?
Yeah, and you raised a great point, and I think it's equally as impactful even in the wintertime, especially depending on how you're layered. If it's cold out, once you get wet, you're in harm's way for sure. But remembering field day 2 years ago, we ran around like crazy for about 3 hours to get set up real quick, and I was drenched head to toe, and there's nothing fun about it. It makes life miserable. I went home and took a shower, quite frankly, because I could. But it's a little bit different when you're out in your little wooden shack, I guess, especially if you're going to spend some time out there.
You get to the point where you're so wet and sweaty that you're like, yeah, I'm wet and sweaty. Who cares? And then you turn around and you're just soaked, like you jumped into the pool. But it can be dangerous. I think it can be dangerous if you're not paying attention to that sort of thing. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, as you're sweating and everything, you lose. You need to start thinking about electrolytes and replenishing those. So having a sports drink or what we like to use is squinchers. They just come in a little packet, and we just pour them in a bottle of water. But you can also overdo it. So you have to kind of, we have a policy on the fire lines is that we go 1 squincher, which is an electrolyte replenisher, and then 3 to 4 bottles of just straight water, and in between the.
Man, there we go.
We ended up going, through quite a bit of water out on the fire lines.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, while you may think, "Wow, we're going to go out and we're just going to chug beer all afternoon," alcohol dehydrates you too. So that does not do the same thing as drinking
coffee.
I
was going to say, there's that coffee mug.
Yep. There's the coffee is a diuretic. So while we like it and stuff like that, it's
then you have to go visit the tree more.
Yeah, I visited the tree. It's all like 2 of these yesterday, just playing around out here, knowing that I can get in there. But the most valuable player by far, and then like a second or third was the bug spray. They're not so bad. I do have a wasp in here. It's kind of like, dude, where's the door? And he looks like he could sting if I don't tell him in a little while. But he's over there. I worked. I used to park cars. Don will appreciate this, at the Pimlico racetrack. And there's not many trees. At least there used to not be. There's some side lots, but you're there at like 5:30 in the morning. The last race is like 5 in the evening, type of the big one. And people just drink all day. And that was back when I first realized how, I mean, the ambulance would come through constantly down, and they were just drunk. People were just drunk and in the heat. To Paul's point, you know, it was actually kind of scary to see how bad shape young people were going out, you know, in the wagons and stuff. Oh, so be careful out there on your tune-ups, man. Keep your beer. I could use a beer. It's that hot. Like, I'd like a beer right now. Would be actually tasty. A Yingling, going back to the East Coast, would be a nice tasting beer. But yeah, misconception of pouring too many of those down your gullet. Yeah.
Your wife would be dragging you back to the house anyway.
It's not a good look, you know, in front of my kids. You know, it's bad enough I fell out of this shed back in November, and my daughter had a first aid kit in her hand, and I didn't say anything. I was just kind of laughing. The pain was so bad. And, you know, but if she wasn't there, 6-year-old wasn't there, I couldn't go. Like, I couldn't walk. My ankle's still jacked up, but I couldn't get up. You know, I couldn't make it back home. And she actually helped me. She helped me send a text. And at one point was able to go kind of run for help safely. Nice. Because I fell out of the shed, not because I was drunk, because I'm old.
That's a factor.
Where's the steps? Boom. And it's not a little one. It's not a flat. It's like a 12-inch drop. Anybody going to be doing you got any plans, Don, for this weekend? You going to break out, or is this one where you just
we lost the boss.
So so do you have any plans for this weekend there, Don?
Are we able to talk bad about him since he's frozen right now?
Oh, yeah.
This is our time, right?
It's open season.
Oh, we can talk bad about him when he's here.
That's a good point. Paul, you raise a good point.
Yeah.
As you can see over my shoulder, there's a basketball player staring at me. So, who just got mad for me calling her out. We've got a championship game today. I think I'm gonna play on 40 tonight. See who's out there on the tune-up. That's about as good as it gets for me. I might do yard work, but I never make that my to-do for the weekend anyway. If it happens, it happens because I have a rare moment of motivation.
That's great.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna try to get on as much as I can. I've got quite a few things. I've got to run shortly. I've got to take my car in for some service, and then I got a couple other things. But yeah, I'm gonna try to see if the bands are open for me today.
Yeah. Hey, he's back. I guess the fun's over.
As soon as I died, I heard, "Can we make fun of him now?" Dumb son of a out there. He knew this wasn't going to work.
That was about as nice as the conversation went.
Yeah. I had to get back as fast as possible.
Defend your honor.
Well, appreciate you. Paul, I know I just heard you say you had some things to do, so I can say 73. Thanks for your patience today.
Hey, it's live
I knew
TV.
It was a risk.
Oh yeah, that's what makes it fun.
That's what makes it fun. There's no editing here.
Like
this is all live.
Big stay warm or cool.
Whatever.
For our friends down under, you know, they need to stay warm.
Exactly.
For us.
Yeah, because it's winter
wacky,
there now.
But thanks to the people actually who stick around or didn't stick around. Yeah, for the two guys.
All right. Clearly, this shack is impeding.
So Don, you got a basketball. You got another. It's a championship game. They advanced last week.
So yeah, Christian's on a Wi-Fi. So the championship game. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is the spring informal basketball league, and she gets to play in the championship. My girl has found her sport, so
nice.
I am going to encourage her to do that as much as she can. It'll be fun. It gets pretty competitive for a bunch of 10-year-olds. It's
oh yeah,
I find myself getting into it.
That's cool. And how's it been with the parents in the stage? Because they in the stands, I mean, they can get pretty competitive these days.
You know, I think everyone's so happy to be back together with one another that we have maintained a certain sense of decorum.
Oh,
so
good. It's
competitive, it's fun, but I think everyone's happy just to be out and just to do things that were, you know, quote unquote normal again. But yeah, it's a I don't want to say gloomy, but it's definitely a soupy weekend here. I saw some bad news on the bands last night. I guess I'll see what what 40 sounds like tonight. See if I can catch some of you guys out there.
Oh yeah, it was really noisy for me on my temporary setup that I got set up, and it was I was S7 when I first turned the radio on. It was like S9 noise, and then I realized I had the preamp turned on, and then went from there. But it still was S5, S7, and which is my normal setup here. It's anywhere S1, S2, so. I don't know what the issue was. Hey, but 20 worked out pretty good. Couldn't complain too much on that.
Well, I was gonna say, I guess the argument is if you're good when it's an S5 noise floor, and you can pull those contacts out of that mess, then you'll be good in time of disaster, right?
Exactly, and that's the whole thing is trying to tune that the noise out and. Try to pull out the voices in the noise. They're coming to get you.
He's back. He's trying here. He's trying to make a show out of his own show.
What is happening? He's trying to scare you, Don. Like voices in the.
Maybe the wasp got you. I thought the wasp got you.
I'm figuring I should.
For 45 minutes.
I don't know, man. I knew it was a risk.
For 45 minutes before the show, it was perfect. Everything was fine, and we brought Karen and Paul in, and it was the four of us. And Karen had a little bit of glitching, and then the show started. I went into, I guess, noisy spark plug mode, being sidecar Steve, and turned off echo cancellation. And good morning, Don from Central Iowa, and so, yeah, it's just been one of those. We knew it was going to happen, and it was we got sucked in and into a false sense of security, and the internet gods have spoken.
Yeah, he'll have to trench himself in Ethernet cable connection all the way to the shack.
Well, there's some other options you can do, and I've done it before, and you use a little Ubiquity, and you set it up as it's great for doing an extended session from your Wi-Fi, and basically you set it up as like a user, and then the hardwire Ethernet just comes out. You can run it to a switch or another router, and then hardwire into it. It's like an extender, but it's you set it up in not a base station. I forget the terminology. I set one up years ago, and it still works today. Not here. It's over at Yakima Airport. So,
now, do you do field day out and about, or you do it from home?
The last couple of years, I've done it from home, and obviously last year we didn't have field day out in the field, but like the last couple of tune-ups, I've
take me now, God.
The last couple. I've set up last tune-up, or no, it was the Fallout. I set up at the house in the garage, and I had a OCF, or actually a Carolina Wyndham, strung up above the trees between the over the house. And so I set up a basic radio in the garage, and just extended the cable into the garage. That's kind of the setup that I'm doing now here in the shop.
Yeah.
But we got some new appliances. And I didn't realize how then the washing machine was going. My wife was doing some, and it was just tearing me up. And I never noticed it out here at the shop because it's a good 100 yards away from the house. So this time I kind of set up the strung up a homebrew not double bazooka OCF between the towers, and ran the cable into the shop and threw out the folding table through the FT1000 on the table, got the camp chair out, had my beer, and started making contacts. So so far so good.
Yeah, it's the way to go. Hey, Christian, we just realized when you were gone that we have never enjoyed this show so much when you weren't on it.
That's a shame. Just being a smart ass, I could still do that. Sidecar, you're on the list
on the
too.
Short list too.
I could see. I'll finish this one myself. This. Look at it.
Oh, I got put in the penalty box.
I should have known. I thought it's probably a better show. I should just be behind the scenes. Don't talk as much. You guys.
Yeah.
I probably need to let you escape while we can actually wind this song the down here. But I plan on streaming a little bit more. I know this is not the best foot forward and stuff, but I'm going to do something and take calls from the shed. Appreciate everybody's patience. I knew it was a risk, and then I thought, wow, who's going to carry this when I dump completely out? How will this show
run
end?
It into the ground
with sidecar? There's
yeah, exactly. How will this show end? we'll just drive it into the ground. But oh well, it is what it is. It is a risk, and this
is frozen now, but me, and who knows what it'll sound like. Appreciate everybody's patience. We'll catch up with you on the air. I'm going to start making some contacts after a little breakfast. Appreciate you guys. Take care of each other, and we'll catch up real soon.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsinawire.com.